Hello everyone and welcome to the Kootneeti's YouTube channel. I am Niranjan Marjani. Today we are going to talk about Turkey. For the past few days, protests have been going on at the Boğaziçi University in Istanbul in Turkey. The protesters are opposing the appointment of Melih Bulu as rector since he was appointed by a presidential decree. To talk about this, we have with us Ms. Zeynep Kurbanzade. She is a student in the Political Science and International Relations Department at Boğaziçi University. Zeynep, welcome to the Kootneeti.
Hello.
So let me start by asking what is the background of these protests that have been going on at Boğaziçi University?
Um, on the 1st of January, what we saw on the official newspaper of the government was the appointment of Melih Bulu to our university with a presidential decree. He's an outsider to the university. He was not an academician, and we totally didn't know anything about Melih Bulu. And because of the weekend curfews, we started holding our protests on 4th of January. And since then, every day except for the weekends, we are protesting his appointment in our university during the weekdays. Such an anti-democratic appointment is totally unacceptable for the academic independence of any university in Turkey and to our university's culture. And since then, every day our academicians start protesting by turning their backs to the rector's building, and we as the students continue these protests with creative types of protesting like exhibitions or concerts, and every day we end up with a press release at the university's gate against a huge army of police.
So the protests are going on every day? Every day you protest?
Yes, every day, as I said, except for the weekend curfews, every day we are at the campus. Every day there are academicians and students who are living in Istanbul because of pandemics, and universities are actually closed. Actually, many students are at their, you know, homes in other cities, and there are not many students in Istanbul right now, but for the ones who can come, we are present at the university during the weekdays. And actually, Boğaziçi has such a large community in other countries as well. For example, during the weekends, we have protests abroad. For example,
Okay.
especially in Germany and in Berlin, there has been huge protests, which some journalists and singers contributed. And yesterday, I guess many graduates gathered in front of the UN building in Geneva. So we're actually all around the world protesting it every day, still.
Oh. And and what is the status of your classes at the university? Are they going on or are there any restrictions due to COVID-19? What about the academics?
Yes, we are in the campus because it is the only safe place for us to hold the protests. And we have COVID restrictions to protests, but the counter protesters do not have any prohibitions, which is a huge irony, I guess, because of a controversial art piece which we have presented in our exhibition. There were counter protests which gathered in the city center, and police just watched them. And but when it comes to us, when we wanted to hold our protest outside of the campus, um, the police responded um very brutally. We have been facing a huge disproportionate police force uh, with the justification of uh, COVID-19 restrictions, but when it comes to radical Islamists who were saying that they were ready to cut our heads, they were free to say that. They were free to come against the constitution, but we couldn't hold our protests according to our constitution. That is a huge irony.
Okay. And so no effort from the government side to hold any dialogue or just to hear you out, listen to your side, nothing like that. Only
No,
use of police force.
no. No, unfortunately, the government response was just, as I said, disproportionate police force, and um, actually, our president and interior minister, they labeled us as terrorists.
Oh,
Where else can you see that? That was very brutal as well. There was no dialogue because, in Turkey we see a government which perceives compromise as giving concessions. For them, talking to us and um, resigning Melih Bulu and respecting our demand of democracy, they see it as a concession. So there is no dialogue. Dialogue for them is a concession, as I said. The only response was police force. We're just students who are just um, organizing concerts, exhibitions, some peaceful and creative things. And what we see is sharpshooters on the ceilings, water cannon tracks, at least 7 or 8. They are huge and they are deadly, and an army of policemen. I mean, this is not what we deserve. We used to be the future of the country few months ago, but now we're labeled as terrorists, and because the government cannot respond to us because we are right, our demand is right. They cannot respond to us uh, in a rational way. They don't have any response. They cannot say anything to us, so they use the police force to try to suppress us.
since you mentioned future, I was actually going to ask, do you sometimes feel that you might be risking your future because of participating in these protests, or if not, then how do you look at it?
Of course, you know, uh, when you emailed me for an interview, I thought twice and I asked many friends, should I accept it or not? What will happen if I accept it? But, since it is a hard situation and we have to speak up, I expected it as my duty. As with my consciousness of democracy and with my self-respect, because I worked a lot to enter this university and I have been uh, dreaming of how to contribute in the development of my country, and it is my responsibility to speak up and defend my democracy. But I feel insecure. If it was a local newspaper who wanted an interview, I would think more of it because there is no rational reason for police to arrest you. One friend got arrested because establishing a WhatsApp group uh, who was actually trying to help the Boğaziçi students, and it was totally an arbitrary arrestment. And one friend got arrested while heading to Kadıköy to another outside protest. The police stopped the bus, for example, and they took out the students, checked their IDs if they were the students of Boğaziçi, and the ones who were Boğaziçi students got arrested. So there is such an arbitrary police force, and of course I am concerned about my future. But on the other hand, if I do not defend my democracy and democratic cultures and the academic independence of university, tomorrow I will not be able to speak up for anything.
So, giving this interview or that earlier interview was rather a courageous step or a risky step, according to you?
Well, At first, it was, but this is not my first interview with an international newspaper.
Yeah.
So I am more relaxed right now. I got used to it. I can say nothing happened so far. Maybe I'm the lucky
That's
one.
and like you mentioned, this current rector is an outsider, as you call it. So, is this the first time there has been a political appointee to the post of rector, or otherwise, how is this position filled?
Mhm. Well, this is not the first appointment, but it is the first political appointment, I can say. Um, Normally, let me mention about how a rector is elected in Turkey. The academicians, the Senate of University, votes for the rector, and the one who gets the highest vote, um, it is accepted by the president symbolically. The president
Okay,
always accepted the rector. The
right.
president always signed uh, under the election results, but it is a symbolical one. Normally, as I said, elections were held in the university senate, but um, for the past two rectors, including Melih Bulu and Mehmet Özkan, there were no elections, and they were appointed arbitrarily by the government. When we come to Mehmet Özkan's position, he was an academician in the Boğaziçi University. It maybe seemed more acceptable to the university students and academicians at that time. I don't know. I was not a university student then, but my friends protested against him as well in those days. And by the time when he didn't resign, um, um, students and academicians accepted him because he was not an outsider to the university, and the academicians made him sign a petition that he will not give any harm to the university's culture. There was a compromise between him and the academicians who were trying to protect the democracy of the university. But Melih Bulu's case is a very extraordinary case. Like, as I've said, we didn't know anything about him until he was appointed by a presidential decree. He was an outsider, and then by the time we found out that he had some sexist wordings, and he is committed to plagiarism, which is the number one,
Mm,
um, um, let's say, not crime in academic world,
right.
and which are totally unacceptable, like his anti-democratic appointment. And we do not accept such an outsider who was likely to give harm to our university. And when we look at his first works, he just restored the cameras in the campus, and he just closed the LGBT student club in the university. And we know the political operation of the LGBT community in Turkey. And when we look at Melih Bulu's background, he has been an active but failed participant of AK Party, Justice and Development Party, from 2002 to 2015. In such a polarized situation, he cannot be the um, suitable rector. We wouldn't accept someone from other party as well. We do not want any political figure in our university as a rector. In many ways, he is unacceptable. I can just say many more things, but it would end up till the morning.
Uh, and also, is there any element of radicalization in this appointment or overall radicalization in the education, apart from, of course, politicization?
Well, I think the radicalization of political Islam and the short-term and survival policies of justice and development parties, um, is an important element in this rector appointment as well. You know, we have been economically, politically, socially in a devastated situation. It is not so bright, and in order to government to survive, they see the radicalization as one of the first short-term escapes, let's say. Yes, radicalization is included, and you know, the media is in the hands of the government, so they're always inciting the religious feelings of the counter protesters, for example. And when we demand democracy from our governments, there is a huge group of people who say that they are ready to cut our heads. That is a very radicalized wording, and you know, nothing happens to them. They pose a serious threat to lives of the students, but police do not protect us against them. The government do not protect us against them, and they continue to incite their feelings and encourage them. Obviously, they encourage them.
Because at the time when the Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan is said to be losing public support, especially among the young voters, wouldn't steps like these would further alienate the young voters from him and his Justice and Development Party?
Mm, When we look at the politics in Turkey, um, the young generations tend to be, because of the situation. For example, there are many students who are graduated from really good universities, but they are jobless, or they are working in low wage places, workplaces, and they tend to be more pragmatist rather than being ideologically attached to a political party. And that's why when they see such a brutal step against the students, other our young friends tend to be against AK Party, Justice and Development Party as well. But there is a little group of young people, I guess, who tend to be more radical. But generally, yes, the young people tend to be against AK Party's such a brutal and irrational policies. But when we look at this hatred and stubbornness of the government steps, they tend to be short term. If they cared about the young generations, they would obviously listen to them. But they are just taking steps to survive in one more election, in one more term, in one more month, one more year. I don't know, but these are not rational and long-term policies.
Yes. Now you are protesting for your specific cause, and when I say you, I mean all the protesters at the university. But
Mhm.
what is the sentiment among the public in general about the political situation in Turkey?
Uh, there is an obvious discomfort among people all around Turkey, especially economically. Um, the workers are devastated. They have been holding some little protests as well because during due to COVID restrictions, many workplaces, restaurants, and maybe factories are closed, so they cannot earn money to survive, and government do not help them. There's a discomfort which has been highly increasing with this pandemic period, and um, at the same time, when the people do not have any spheres to express their discomfort and problems, um, they tend to contribute in such huge and powerful protests, like which we have organized with some other universities. And so there are many, for example, workers or people from different ideologies who contributed to our protests, which is a sign that there is a huge discomfort and huge concern about what's going on in Turkey as a whole. So since we cannot express ourselves, since we cannot have a dialogue or compromise with the government, there's a growing sentiment about some wrong policies and economic devastation in the country. Government is like a wholly closed box up in the skies, and it doesn't seem like caring us. It doesn't seem like listening to us. So when we started holding our protest, there has been huge support, and people wanted to contribute to our protest to express their problems as well. People want dialogue, people want to listen, people do not want incitement of religious, for example, or some other abstract feelings. They need money, they need food, they need better
Yeah.
living standards. That is the case in Turkey right now.
Well, Zainab, thank you very much for joining us. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah,
And
you're welcome. Thank you for listening to us.
yes, that's great. I hope you enjoyed watching this interview. We'll be back next time with a new topic and a new guest. You can tell us what you think in the comment section below, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. The details are on the screen. Thank you for watching.